What's going on, everyone? Wanted to talk a little NFL, what went down today. I was definitely going to talk about the Packers, and I will. But man, what we just saw on Sunday Night Football, I had to talk about. I had to put in the video here. Broncos win 11-10 in, I'm just going to say, probably the worst primetime game I've ever seen. Maybe you could argue like a blowout. Maybe there's a primetime blowout that was like a 38-7 at some point. I don't know. I think this is much worse than something like that because at least there you're being entertained, you're seeing scores. This game was a comedic masterpiece, but it was also one of the most horrific football games I've ever seen. Denver wins 11-10. Just absolutely ridiculous what we just watched. Russell Wilson, I've been defending him the last 2 weeks. Is like the Seahawks game was a little weird. His stats were still pretty good. It's just a weird ending with their decision not to go for it on fourth down last week. It's like, he just had a bad game. Put it aside. The Broncos look like, besides Cortland Sutton, apparently, the rest of that offense looks just terrible. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know why they're so incapable of generating anything. But the Niners couldn't do anything either. They had one touchdown early and then a field goal eventually. But besides that, they didn't do nothing either. Just thought it was hilarious. I mean, obviously one of the funniest things is when Jimmy G did the Dan Orlovsky, walked out of his own end zone trying to avoid the pressure, and basically it made it 7-5. I mean, it was 7-5 for like an hour. That's just a ridiculous score. 11-10 is a ridiculous score. I mean, all the punts. With Mitch Wishnowsky, the Niners punter, he punted, let's see here, 7 times for 363 yards. The rookie punter for Broncos, Corliss Waitman, he had 476 punt yards on 10 punts. Put them together. That's 839 punt yards in a single game. There's so many 3-and-outs, so many drops. I mean, Mike Boone was dropping it. I think Judy might have had one. There's a lot of tip passes, a couple interceptions. We saw Jonas Griffith get the interception late in the game off Kareem Jackson's pass deflection that kind of helped Denver eventually win the game. But stuff like that, there was fumbles. You know, we saw Jeff Wilson fumble late. That led to Denver being able to recover and just kneel out the clock that last minute. But just a lot of hilarious mistakes, ugly mistakes that were just bad. I thought Russell Wilson, just in general, was sailing some passes throughout the game, just over people's heads, out of bounds, underthrowing them a couple times. It was just horrific to look at. I thought the Niners, they weren't able to get Debo or Kittle involved in meaningful ways for the most part. I thought that was weird. I think the Niners, they definitely did some dumb stuff too, but I feel like it was more Denver who, despite the win, looked stupider. I will say Denver's defense, I really like their defense. Their defense is very good, and I think they came through big, especially in the second half. But at the same time, it's just, I mean, the best part is how we got to this 11-10 victory. Just because they finally scored. Melvin Gordon, who had one of the worst games of his career tonight, he's freaking out after he finally gets in the end zone on that 3-yard run, whatever it was. And then they go for the 2, and then it's just they don't even come close to getting it. It's just a batted down pass immediately. So it's 11-10, and that's basically what happens. And then Denver wins. I don't know. I don't even know really what to say. There wasn't a lot of big plays in the game. There's a lot of punts, as I mentioned, some sacks, some interceptions, some fumbles. But man, that was just a horrific game of football. I was watching with my roommate. We were just laughing. It was just funny. I wish I could recreate that. I wish I was recording it live almost so you could see our reactions. But I think if you look at my Twitter, you can kind of see how I was seeing how I was reacting to the game. It was just making me laugh the whole time. So I don't know. Terrible game, but it was weirdly entertaining at the same time. We even saw McManus just totally shank a field goal at one point. Ridiculous game, but hey, I don't know. I got some homework done during the game. Wasn't worth watching the whole time, but at the same time, it was quite funny. Now, on to more important things. Green Bay Packers, baby. 2-1 on the season. Got the 14-12 victory over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Here's my problem with the Packers right now. I'm very confident in this team's ability to be a good football team this year. I think we're a very good football team. But through 3 games, I've yet to be confident that this is a great team. I don't know when that win's going to come. Maybe next week against the Lions, who I do think are really good. I think the Lions, at least their offense, I think is legit. And if we beat them on the road next week in Detroit, I think that might be our first real win of the season. But here's the thing. We lose to the Vikings, who honestly I think the Vikings have kind of proven over the last 2 weeks. I know they won today, but I think they've proven over the last 2 weeks that they're kind of just, I don't know. I don't think they're fully gelling the way people think they are. I don't think they're a well-oiled machine quite yet, because yes, some guys did do better today that didn't do much the first two games, but then Jefferson disappeared. So I didn't understand that at all. But putting the Vikings aside, Packers get embarrassed by the Vikings. We had no game plan. Last week we beat the Bears, but it's the Bears, and even the Bears were running on us, and I would have liked the run defense to play better last week. But I thought the run defense was mostly pretty good today. Fournette had a couple, but really he didn't do much. So I was happy with that. We saw Devondre Campbell come up big at the end. Now, this game was crazy because the Packers defense and the Tampa defense were just stopping each other. I mean, the Packers went up early. We looked really good early, but the Tampa defense adjusted. They kept us in check. Jones fumbled. Once Jones fumbled, our momentum was out the door. We were about to go up 21-3 at the half. And, we only wound up with 14-3 and didn't score again the rest of the game for 2 quarters. Now, Tampa only scored one more time, but still, and they had the field goal. So they scored 2 more times. So they probably, I guess they technically outplayed us on offense in the second half, but I thought their offense was terrible. I mean, they were missing their top 3 receivers. Julio was ruled out right before the game. Evans suspended. Godwin injured. And, Gage, shout out to Gage. I mean, he did have 12 catches. He kept it moving for them, but it was only on about 80 yards, so his yards per catch, he didn't really play that well. He was just getting the receptions because Brady had to throw to someone. Cole Beasley, he didn't do much except a couple catches here and there. Perriman didn't do much. I didn't see Scotty Miller at all, thank God, because the last time we saw him against the Packers, he scored a touchdown on Kevin King and helped us lose the NFC title game. But the thing I was happy about the Packers is that we did go to the run early this week. I think even though Jones and Dillon, their stat lines weren't great, I thought especially when we scored those first 2 touchdowns, they were very important for those drives. And obviously without those early drives, we don't win the game. And my guy Dobbs looked great. 8 catches, 73 yards, and a touchdown. I started him in fantasy. I took the risk, and it paid off for me. I should have started Tyler Boyd because he had like 80-yard touchdown. But Dobbs still did pretty good. So I was happy with what I got from him. Even with Sammy Watkins and Watson injured, I don't think we felt it that much. I thought Cobb played well. I thought that Lazard, he had a touchdown. I thought he was pretty solid as well. And I don't know, the offense, I think next week's a prove-it week for the offense. Rodgers played good today. I got the D-back jersey on again last week. I said last week I was wearing it because I was hoping he was going to come back. He was ruled out right before the game, but this week he did play. He didn't play every drive. He was kind of on a platoon so to speak, with Josh Nijman. So they were coming in and out, swapping with each other. Well, I'm interested to see how that plays out as the season progresses, but I think the line was definitely better. So I think next week, week 4, against the Lions, who don't have a great defense, but they have a great offense, that's the prove-it week for this offense, because I still don't think they've really proven much. I think we know that Jones and Dillon are good. We just have to maximize their abilities. Because today, I mean, it was against a very good Tampa defense, but I still don't think we were able to do that. And, Dobbs looked good. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. I love what the defense did, except at the end there. I mean, we started playing prevent. There was like less than 2 minutes left. And then all of a sudden, Brady, after that offense barely did anything for an hour. They got down the field 80 yards in no time and scored on us. But thank God, Devondre Campbell, who was great all game, he had a big part in keeping Leonard Fournette in check. I saw him make numerous plays tackling Fournette, not letting him keep going down the field on some of those runs. And then he got the pass breakup on that 2-point conversion to prevent overtime from coming. Because if Packers, we know the history of the Packers. Overtime is not kind to the Packers. And I don't know, with the momentum being on Tampa's side, if they had gotten that 2-point conversion, if Campbell didn't break that up, very likely we lose because Packers just lose in overtime. That's just how it is. So it's always good to avoid overtime when you're the Green Bay Packers. We get the 14-12 win. I'm very confident in the defense. A little concerning that Jair got injured. He went out with a groin injury. But early signs seem that's pretty minor. Maybe he misses next week. Maybe even the week after that. But I think he'll be back shortly. No more than a few weeks, I would assume, from what it seems like to me. No official reports are out yet, but I'm liking what I'm seeing so far from signs on there. I thought Stokes and Douglas played a great game. Not like they were guarding the best receivers in the league by any means. Not even close, but still thought they played pretty well. Thought they played pretty well last week. So I got to be happy with what we did. I definitely think the Packers are a top 5 defense in football, maybe even higher than that. Tampa, they're one of the best defenses as well. So it was good to get the win. From Tampa's side of things, I think just like us, they kind of still have to prove stuff. We haven't totally seen their receiving core all together yet. Godwin's been pretty dinged up. Julio's been pretty dinged up. Their O-line's dinged up. And Evans was suspended this week. So I don't know. Brady was good today, but also, His stats are really good, but there was also some bad throws I thought he had in the first half, especially. I thought he was pretty bad last week for the most part against the Saints until late. Like that was 3-3 for a long time. So they've kind of had three straight games, Tampa, where their offense, besides a couple drives where they look good, the rest of the time they really couldn't get much going. I think that coming into this game, I was like, whoever loses, I feel like might have a hard time the rest of the season. But that was before I knew the Saints were going to lose to Carolina, which I didn't anticipate today. I know Jameis is dealing with the injury, but I thought they would still win the game. They didn't. So it kind of looks like Tampa might have an easy road to that division. Go figure. Tom Brady getting lucky with his division rivals as usual. But looks like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers will probably win that division. Meanwhile, we got to contend with the Vikings and the Lions, who I think both have good offenses. But yeah, it's weird because I'm confident in the Packers to be a playoff team. But are we a Super Bowl contender? Can we be a Super Bowl contender? Remains to be seen. I think we'll find out over the next few weeks. Starts next week in Detroit. I'm excited, but at the same time, we'll have to see. So that's all I got to say for that. Be more coming on the Fan Committee Pod with Mike Herrera. We're going to record one tomorrow, so it should be out on Tuesday. So stay tuned for that. We'll be talking about more of the games. Real quick for the Eagles fans, y'all probably going to be number one on the two-man power rankings this week. I know some of my Eagles fan friends that follow me on Twitter. They've been waiting for that moment for a long time. The Eagles might finally be number one on the rankings this week, so stay tuned for that. You'll get to see that coming out on Tuesday. Other than that, thank you guys for watching my video tonight. Go Pack, go! Hopefully the defense can continue to get better and better from here. Hopefully the offense can start to match that. I will say, saw a stat: Romeo Doubs, 100 receiving yards the last 2 weeks. Devontae Adams, 48. What does that mean? I don't know. I can't tell you. That's just the stats. That's just what the stats say. Other than that, thanks for watching. Have a great night.